Hello, it's Cryptolyze. I hope you are well this Sunday, 24 December 2023. And yes, tonight you may be celebrating Christmas. Tomorrow is the opening day of gifts. Whether it's for you, whether it's for your children, whether it's for your friends, it doesn't matter. Especially at the end of the year, I wanted to give you a little gift. And we're going to come back today on important cryptos for 2024. So there will be mainly large market caps and medium market caps. There will not be all the cryptos that you want. Certainly it will be my personal selection compared to those which will certainly perform in 2024 and 2025, and those that have the most potential currently in relation to technical analysis and fundamental analysis. Please note that all the micro and small market caps, I did not put them in this YouTube video. These are profiles which are very risky. Even too risky to be on YouTube, and that's why I generally talk about it more on Discord and on the private part of the Discord. Let's start right away to discuss the nuggets for 2024. If you want to train and really enjoy bull running, it's simple. There is perfect, complete, free training available. It's through an educational journey that teaches you everything about blockchain, crypto, investment, technical analysis, and trading. All this for free in comments and descriptions. You have exercises, multiple choice questions, modules, videos, guides, everything to support you in your progress. Before starting and really getting to the heart of the matter, I broke it down by notion of narrative, in which you will find a certain number of blockchains, a certain number of projects and protocols. There are some that won't be in it. For example, I haven't covered decentralized finance, but I'll talk about it quickly at the end. There are plenty of protocols that I'm going to talk about, perhaps which don't yet have a token, but which will potentially launch under 2024 and 2025. You'll have to monitor them, and above all, make your selection in my chord selection, none. Absolutely don't take everything. Do your own research. It's very important. I'm going to present a lot of projects to you, and that's why I'm going to spend a little time on each of the projects. So we're going to start right away with the notion of narrative around from layer 1. We can see very clearly that it is currently working with the notion of registration, and therefore the use of these tokens in the creation of new blocks. We have Solana who is breaking out. Solana, I have been a fervent defender of Solana for a very long time. You know, I was one of the few to be on the table shouting at you to buy Solana when we were hitting just below $9 and between $10 and $9. And that's why I'm still present on Solana, because currently it's one of the blockchains that is not EVM compatible, which has a developed ecosystem and which continues to develop despite the FTX crash, on which they were enormously impacted. So that's why Solana is one of the strong actors, I think, in 2024, 2025, even if at some point we're not going to hide it. We'll have a retracement. That doesn't mean that if we have a real bull run that sets up in 2024, 2025, sure and certain that we will have Solana who will be in a very good place. Understand that everyone who currently outperforms has a good chance of outperforming during the next wave of acceleration that we experience. So that's why I also put AVAX, Avalanche, about which I also spoke to you a lot, and fervent defender of this protocol in which we have had a big acceleration, similar level 1 blockchain, which is much more focused on originally on a notion of interoperability with here their subnet, in which we have a burning system. Then we have FTM, obviously Phantom, which for me is always underrated and will always remain underrated as long as we do not reach market levels. Cap, which are relatively high, the team is solid, the ecosystem is solid for me. Nothing in any case tells me that this is something that will not perform in 2024, and it starts from the protocols that I follow enormously. Then we have CAS. CAS, which has already performed a lot. Yes, but which has also already retraced quite a bit, and which is a protocol in which we have a very, very strong community. We don't have incentives, we don't have driving forces like we can find on Solana or AVAX, which work much more like companies. CAS, this is not the case. CASPA, as for it, is a blockchain which, well, DAG block I will be told. But in short, it doesn't matter. It still remains something which is as close as possible to a blockchain. And we here as a protocol which potentially could still have a lot of possibilities for evolution. And that's why I'm talking about it, because they have their own community which really defends the project and which is not linked to the incentive. So this is the best type of community that we can find, and that's what we want, especially in a bull run. It's this type of community because we know that they are not going to move from one project to another. On the other hand, we have Aptos. Aptos, which launched recently, in which we had a consolidation phase, which we see here before having a breakup. Breaking, which is not really bullish for the moment, agree we have not broken the SEC announcement yet here because we have a dilution part on Aptos. So, we have a bearish pressure which is relatively strong, and therefore that is also why it can be interesting to start to think that it is a layer 1 which has not yet broken out because we have a dilution of one token. And on that note, it might be interesting to think about whether the Aptos ecosystem interests me or not. Afterwards, once again, I repeat, it's up to you to select from each of the narratives or see the narrative on which you want to expose yourself. We will have layers 2 for me. I have only selected 2 for the moment. We're going to have Matic, obviously, so I didn't put it in layer 1. I really put it in layer 2 because we're going to be renamed to Paul, and when it changes to Paul and we'll have the together. Of the ecosystem that will be developed, I think that we will certainly have a racing beast that will run, namely that it is being instantiated as layer 2 of Ethereum, which provides a very, very powerful for developing many applications around Ethereum. Same on that, what I'm looking for is OP, in which we have the op stack that has been set up. For me, the op stack is really very important. It is a blockchain development kit that uses the interoperability supported by Optimism. That's why I put both in layer 2. And why are these 2? Because each time they have an ecosystem that can develop in a form of interoperability which allows me to make the transition to the next step, where we have the notion of interoperability, which is very important for the entire ecosystem, and we will see for me, Link, which has a really important role. We broke the ranging zone here in which we had remained for almost 2 years with the rupture here of the 8. And we find ourselves at 15, but which remains relatively weak compared to the role that Chainlink could have on the entire ecosystem. Note that Chainlink is the biggest oracle, but not only that. It is a protocol which aims to facilitate interoperability, to facilitate the transit of information, to facilitate the automation of smart contracts, and all interconnections outside the blockchain. So very important in a world which is not yet interoperable, and which will not be interoperable at 100 for several years. Then we have AXL, which has had a big valuation, but which for me remains a very strong player, which is a new form of bridge, which makes it possible to interface different blockchains and to break this notion of fractality of liquidity through a blockchain which is carried by Atom, well, in any case, on the Cosmos. SDK, so for me it is very important. Then we have Atom, from Cosmos. So it's a level 1 blockchain, yes, but for me that's not what's really going to interest me about Atom. It will be their notion of interoperability, because many blockchains like Axelar are built on the Cosmos SDK, and Atom offers a typology of protocol which makes it possible to interface between all the blockchains which are precisely developed on the Cosmos SDK, and to go further, the Atom project is to offer shared security with a valorization of the Atom, so it is a similar project that I follow very closely. Then in gaming, I was very kind and very soft because there are many protocols. I really took those which are the most interesting and in which there is more visibility. I did not speak of Theta for several reasons because for me, it is not necessarily a meaning only in gaming. It is something which is still apart. But we are going to see Gala with a lot of risks. We are very careful about Gala. So there is a studio specializing in Web3 games and blockchain, but for me, it still remains very complicated. I made a video for you not long ago on it if you want to understand the risks associated with Gala. But I think that if we have a speculation around gaming, Gala will have a strong valuation around that. Then we have UOS, the same platform specializing in the distribution of video games, in which if we have a narrative around gaming, we will have strong speculation around it. But the same thing, we do not have something that is technically bullish in any case as it stands, and that is why we have to do a little bit of attention. Then we are going to have Sand, the token of the sandbox, which technically is also not necessarily ultra bullish, which is why gaming we are very careful, but which on the other hand has a lot of potential because they already have a large community, and that the game itself has the possibility of breaking out very strongly. Once again, we are careful. Gaming was carried during the previous narrative by the notion of metaverse and the rename of Facebook in Meta, and understand that Facebook is in the process of abandoning the notion of metaverse. So it's really very complicated at the moment, and in gaming. For me, there are a lot of criteria, but which are mainly linked to games. And there it will be up to you to see whether yes or no you have an appeal in terms of this game, whether yes or no we have a valuation in terms of this game. There are plenty of microphones and small caps which may be interesting, but which I will not present on a video like this one. Next to it we have artificial intelligence. we will find ocean, in which we have here a protocol, which is very interesting for artificial intelligence, which makes it possible to make available and share a certain number of points around artificial intelligence. I made a video for you a little while ago on it. Similar chronology in which we risk having a lot of speculation. Is there a real interest in having artificial intelligence in the blockchain? Yes. Is using blockchain to develop artificial intelligence? Already much less. That remains my personal opinion. But in all cases, we will have hyper-speculation that will revolve around it, and that is precisely what we are going to look for in order to seek out performances and precisely ocean. We are in something which has not yet really broken out its previous range. We are rather in a range in the top of the range here since February 2023. Okay, the year 2023 happened in a range for ocean, and this is where we have to think a little bit, whether yes or no we are interested in the protocol itself. Then we have AGIX. Very interesting protocol too. Singularity Net, which allows a lot of sharing on the notion of artificial intelligence in which we have a desire to arrive at the topi singularity of any fanatic of artificial intelligence, to arrive at having a strong artificial intelligence, but which offers above all a blockchain ecosystem which makes it possible to develop artificial intelligences which make a lot of things available. Next to it, we will have FET, which for its part, so we will put it like this. Otherwise, you will not see much. You also made a video not long ago to be able to give you information on it. We have an ecosystem which is also relatively developed and which aims to provide a platform to be able to build and deploy specialized and verticalized artificial intelligence, in which we have already had a big explosion, but we remain in something which is rather structured. Next, we will see Tao, which is really driven by hyper-speculation, but which has a protocol which has a very strong advantage, which is that it was deployed without incentive, in which, like Caspa, we have an ecosystem which is really clean and who defends it whatever happens. And that's the best type of ecosystem and community that we could have. So, yes, we had a big sell-off because we reached $400, so inevitably at some point we make a fall and we do a retracement and we are going to retest interesting zones. But aside from that, we still remain on a protocol which is hyper-speculative with a relatively limited number of applications. As it stands, we have something that is developing very quickly, and that we will have to monitor for 2024, which could indeed continue to have hyper-speculation if the narrative of artificial intelligence takes precedence. Next, we will attack the RWA narrative, the notion of tokenization. So I've already covered this part at length. I'm going to go relatively quickly, and I'm going to present to you for myself the three biggest ones in which we're going to have Maple, which is going to be mainly the privatized lending platform, which is quite very good. Listed in which we have a lot of funds passing through. Be careful because here the MPL will only serve as a governance token and will not really have any interest in the protocol itself. We are going to see the SNX, which already has a much stronger interest. It is the structural tokenization of assets, and in which, even liquidity one could say, and in which the SNX has not yet completely exploded. We can clearly see that we are still in this accumulation phase, and SNX is used to mint other tokens and at the same time hedge. It is even a much stronger interest. Next to that we have the Pundle, so Pundle that I spoke to you about at a time which was really very important, in which he was a little bit underground. He was in that area roughly before it's really bursting, but that doesn't prevent Pundle from remaining a very interesting ecosystem, which is the tokenization of assets, and above all, which allows trading, which is different. Trading on yielding, that is to say, on profitability, of a token. For example, if you stack your Ethereum, you will have your Ethers, and you will have 335 in the year of return. Pundle allows you to separate the two and be able to directly have either the yield or the token, or even trade both. It's a protocol that is widely used, and which for me will be widely used in the notion of yield tokenization, something that is important when we start to have institutional investors who want to lock in a yield over the long term. Pundle is for me one of the big protocols to come for 2024 on decentralized finance with tokenization. Alongside, we will find ourselves on DEPIN, therefore the decentralized infrastructure in which we will necessarily have FIL, therefore which is Philcoin, which mainly allows us to store information. Here we have a ranging zone that is rather long. We can't get out at the top, but if we really have the decentralized infrastructure that explodes, we could have something interesting. Next to it, we have Flux, in which we had a big bullish reaction, equally interesting. I made a video for you not long ago also in which the computing power is made available. We are going to have HNT, so HNT, which is the protocol linked to Helium, which allows access to the internet almost anywhere in the world in a decentralized way, which was also ported to Solana, which had their own blockchain which was ported to Solana. We are going to have AKH with AKT as a competitor to RNDRN. We are going to have AKR, so again, which is very important for me, I also made a video for you on it. Moreover, all the cryptos that I am talking to you about here, I made you at least one video on it, in which we will still have, which will actually be a mix of all that, in which we have access to a little bit of everything depending on what we want, and we have the possibility of centralizing everything in the same place, which is pretty good, and which even works. All right. Besides, we have lots of other things. Well, lots of other things. We have two others that I released that we could put one, but which are a little apart, okay. We are going to come protocol, which to the basis was a desire to be layer 1, which is a layer 1, but which is moving towards an operating system for blockchains, therefore, which is still apart. And we have injective protocol, in which we had an outbreak monumental, but which is a level 1 blockchain on Cosmos, but who has a desire to be specialized in decentralized finance and in derivatives to see what that will give. And the injective ecosystem which will develop is still unique. That's why the notes there. Besides, there are lots of other things that I haven't noted. You have seen that I have not covered decentralized finance, but you will inevitably find AAV. Of comp, you are going to have actors who are like that essential. You are going to have CRV like the curve, which are important, in fact, for the development of decentralized finance because all the protocols rely on Uniswap pools, on lending of AAV, compound, or CRV, and that's a bit of what we continually find, and that's why if we ever have an arc around decentralized finance, we will necessarily have a valuation of the tokens around that. Besides, if you're interested, you still have tracks, which is available. On this, you have the possibility of having themes which are treated like artificial intelligence, in which there are not all the tokens, but a part of the tokens. You also have the real-world asset, which is present. You will also have the possibility of putting yourself in the top 10 DeFi. You will have the possibility of dealing with interoperability. You therefore have ETFs, which are made available. Quite simply, when you buy this protocol, when you actually buy this token here, well behind you will have the tokenization of all the assets that are behind it, and that allows you to have a valuation and exposure to the entire ecosystem. For example, here we are in the DeFi top 10. You see that we still have quite a few things that are present, and it can also be a good way to expose yourself to a narrative if you wish. Please note that you have to be careful. It's like any ETF, we have costs. It's up to you to see if it's simpler for you to manage them this way. In any case, it has the merit of existing and it has a very strong interest. It is that in one click you can buy and directly hold and manage a set of cryptos without necessarily having to ask yourself the question. You definitely want to do it yourself. Besides, we have other projects we will have, for example, here Zero Risk, which has not yet been released, which is a VM carried by the ZK knowledge proof, and which is at the same time around the private here, so which will be able to validate and to computer absolutely anything on any blockchain. We don't have a token, the project is under construction. So we will have to monitor for me throughout this period of 2024, 2025. We will having Aztec. I already spoke to you about it a while ago. Time, which is a ZK all-up on Ethereum, which really carries the notion of private here, and they are doing monumental work for zero-knowledge technology, right? They are really doing colossal work. Next to it, we will have Starknet, which is the protocol which will be powered by Starkware, and which is important because they have an ecosystem and a community which is really apart, and they do not have a token. We know that it has been announced. It will arrive soon. We'll have to look at tokenomics. We'll have to see how it's distributed. Well, there are plenty of elements to see, but in any case, we'll have to monitor. Then we will have Layer 0, which is the truly notion of permissionless interoperability, which aims to offer you liquidity transfer, regardless of the blockchain you have and the way in which you want it. So the difference compared to an Exceller will be that Exceller, you have to wait for the team to interface your blockchain, and you have to pay for it to interface your blockchain. Next to it, we have Layer 0, which quite simply allows for interoperability directly, natively. It is a decentralized interoperability protocol. Exactly what we want. And next to it, we have the narrative which is carried by Eigenlayer. Eigenlayer. You talked about it a lot, which is the notion of restaking. which is the use of an already existing token to secure other blockchains. Concrete example with Ethereum, where you deposit your stETH, therefore your ETH, which are stacked to protect the Ethereum blockchain. These tokens will be used to protect other blockchains which will pass through EigenLayer. And that is also a narrative that is developing which could see a very strong rise in 2024-2025, in which unfortunately we still have quite a few protocols which have a token, if not none, and that we will have to monitor. Hence the real interest in being present and continually monitoring what is happening. To consider that we missed the bull run is to not understand that there are all these protocols which are being born, which are hatching, which are in the process of to appear. And this will be the case during 2024 and 2025. It's up to you to be there. It's up to you to do your own research and to know whether or not we can have a speculative narrative on each of these narratives there. In any case, I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, don't forget to leave me a like, a comment, and share the video to support the channel. It already makes me very happy, and above all supports the work that I do every day. We will not meet again tomorrow. In this case, tomorrow, it will be a day without video rather, and we will resume next week quietly, and I therefore wish you happy holidays to all, and we'll see you on 26.